Being a creator is difficult. And for once, I'm not just talking about being a small creator. There are aspects of the creator experience that are universally not easy to deal with. Let me tell you what has sparked this little train of thought. Today I recorded voiceover for a video for about 40 minutes, and I did this in Audacity, and my process is to keep the audio file in Audacity, edit it down in that program, and then export it when it's fully edited, so that when I get it into my editing software, I don't have to mess around with the audio, it's just ready for the visual editing to happen. I got most of this audio completely edited down, and then I had to leave the house, I had to go do something, that's fine. And then I come back, and I try and get back into it, and Audacity crashes. Right at the end of what I was doing. But you know, that's fine, it's just a crash, so I open it back up, and the file has corrupted. Naturally, I flew into a panic. I was desperately doing everything I could to try and recover it, and I ended up on the help page for Audacity, and there was a thing that you can install that helps to recover corrupted files. And so I installed that, and I gave it a go, and I was able to partially recover the file that I had lost. I had pretty much all of what I had edited intact, but the remaining maybe 10 minutes of audio that were unedited, they were either only the left track was there, or only the right track was there, or in a good amount of places, neither was there. The audio had completely dropped out. And there were also a couple of places in the edited bit where there were little drops. And I've tried multiple times to try and get this whole thing recovered in the state that it was in, and it's just not happening. And you know, to some, that may seem a minor inconvenience, right? But it really got me thinking about the difficulties of the creator experience. Because while, yes, that's probably not a particularly big issue for a lot of people, for me, it's a pretty big deal. I spent 40 minutes recording that audio, and I was really happy with my delivery and how everything turned out. And so to have lost a lot of that, it's very annoying, it's frustrating. And the stress of frantically trying to recover anything from that project really has taken a toll on me. And now I have this little nugget in the back of my head saying, you know, you still have to re-record all of the stuff that was lost. It's gonna make the process of creating that next video so much more difficult, because I'm gonna have to find the parts of the recovered bit that aren't fully there. I'm gonna have to pick up those bits, I'm gonna have to re-record all of the stuff that was lost. Individually, these things aren't huge deals, but stacked on top of each other with the difficulties that are already present of being a small creator and finding the time to do these things, it's a lot! It's really been stressing me out, and that got me thinking about, you know, what other aspects of being a creator are stressful in a similar way. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one who does this. I glamorize the idea of being a full-time creator, but just like with any dream job, it's probably not as glamorous as you think it might be. And again, there are certain things that even being a large creator aren't gonna save you from. A technical issue like that, it just happened out of the blue. There was no real cause for it, so having the money and the time and resources to do this full time, that's not gonna save me from technical difficulties. Those things just happen sometimes. Being a full-time creator and doing this as a job would mean having to balance so many more things. Yes, I would have time to give everything to this channel, or to my main channel, or whatever, to the creator experience. But doing it full time means that I would have to consider a lot of other things. I would be self-employed, so I would have to sort out all of my taxes on my own. Whereas if I was in a traditional 9-to-5 job, my income tax would just be taken automatically and I wouldn't have to do anything. My income would entirely depend on the success of whatever I was making, which would put a lot of pressure on the creative process of that video, because in some way I would need it to do well. I feel like I wouldn't be able to fully enjoy each video quite as much because I know for a fact if this idea doesn't work the way I think it might, I'm gonna be in a financially difficult situation for the next however long it takes to make the next video. And if videos like mine take a lot of time to be made and to come to fruition, that's just even more pressure put on, you know? And an easy fix to this is to hire people. But that's not that easy. Yes, there are plenty of freelancers who would be willing to come and do little editing odd jobs or make thumbnails or stuff like that. But then if you're hiring people either full-time or regularly hiring freelancers, it then becomes an issue of managing what effectively are employees. How do you be an ethical boss, essentially? Because that's what you would be. You would be managing all of these different people in all of these different roles, and you would have to make sure that you were operating under best practices that accommodate those people. Or at least that's what I would do. I have a feeling that's maybe not so universal, but yeah. You would be in charge of people's paychecks. You would have to make sure that they received their money on time and that the money that they were receiving was adequate for the work that they put in. Being a large creator also comes with sponsorship opportunities, and I feel like having to manage that on top of all of the elements of my own videos, making sure that a product that I was endorsing was something that I actually wholeheartedly believed in. Because again, this probably isn't something that everybody would do, but I wouldn't want to take a sponsorship if it wasn't from a product that I actually wanted to recommend. And of course, there are terms that come with sponsorships. There are certain things that you can and can't do in your sponsored segment or in the video that that segment is a part of. There are so many moving pieces in the puzzle of making a YouTube video that is going to be a part of your income. So you have all of this pressure of managing a channel, managing multiple people that are working for that channel, making sure that everyone is getting the money that they need, including you, making sure that your strategy and the videos that you are making align with what works in terms of monetary success, because unfortunately, if this is a full-time career, that does have to take precedent to at least some extent. You have all of that pressure, and once you've finished the working day, you don't really get to switch off. I can't personally say if this is the case for every job, but I know at least for YouTube, when I stop editing or writing or recording, I don't stop thinking about YouTube. It's practically the only thing on my mind most of the time. I'm always thinking about how to refine my strategy, new ideas, new things I could try. And if I was having to manage a bunch of people and the financial side of that on top of that, I imagine I definitely wouldn't stop thinking about YouTube. I wouldn't really be able to clock out, you know? And by the way, this is not me saying that being a YouTuber would be more difficult than having a traditional job. I'm not saying that at all. First of all, I don't have experience with either. But second of all, every job is difficult for different and unique reasons. Why do we feel the need to compare? Why do we need to say this is more difficult than this? I put in more work than this person, or vice versa. Why can't we just accept that every job is difficult? Every job has elements of difficulty and frustration and stress to them. Because you know what? I think being a full-time creator would be stressful. Because on top of everything I've already mentioned, you also have the burden of influence. If you're big enough to do this full-time, you likely have a lot of eyes on you at almost all times. And depending on your relationship with your audience, that can sometimes mean that boundaries are crossed, whether on the internet or in real life in some cases. That can't be a pleasant thing to go through. Having people come up to you when you aren't expecting it, or having people try and figure out where you live, or getting doxxed and having to deal with that whole situation. Being a YouTuber, being a full-time creator, does not seem as glamorous as I think that it is, or I believe it to be. When I actually take a step back and look at it logically, it looks like a very, very stressful job to do. And in some ways, I feel like it would be easier for me to take the corporate 9-to-5 route because I'll have a degree. There'll be a lot less luck involved in getting my beginnings in that career path. And I feel like because there would be less eyes on me, there would also probably be a lot less pressure on me. And this brings me to the ultimate point of this video, which is being a creator is extremely difficult. So you need to decide for yourself if it's worth it. And for me, even though I can see all of the ways in which this job would stress me out, it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. Because you know what? I love making videos more than anything else in the world. I have so many ideas that I'm passionate about, so many videos that I want to make. And so if I was able to go full time, I would have more of an opportunity to make those videos. And that, to me, it makes it worth it. It's funny, all of that came from just a single technical issue. That was quite humbling, if I'm gonna be honest.